Friends, good morning and welcome to our today's session. We are going to start this chapter, salaries. So, all of you are aware there are five heads of income. Now, can you recall those five heads? What are the five heads of income under income tax? You already know five heads of income are there, right? Can you recall what are these five heads?
Sir,
Yeah, please.
income from salary,
Okay,
income from house property,
okay.
PGBP profit from gains and business and
Business and
profession,
profession. Okay.
and capital gains and other incomes.
Capital gain and income from other sources. And the first
Yes,
part
sir.
you told is what you told income from salaries. It is not
Yes.
income from salaries, it is only salaries. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Name of the head is salaries. Okay. So we already know these are the five heads, and we are going to start the first head of income today, right? And it is a very familiar head, is it not? So maybe there are many people in our family who receive salary. Salary income is a very common income, and you must be having this basic idea. When you talk about the salary, salary may include something called as allowances. Isn't it? There is something called as basic salary. There are allowances are also included. Then there is something called as perquisites or perks. Perks are basically non-monetary benefits. Let's say free house is given, free vehicle is given. So these are the perquisites or perks. And there is one more concept which is referred to as profit in lieu of salary. What is that concept? That also we are going to learn under the head salaries. Okay, if you see the definition of salary, it's an inclusive definition. It contains so many items. All of the items we are going to learn. Right. So let us start now. I'm going to share the screen with you. Hope you are able to see the screen now. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you already know, as I was discussing right now, these are various heads of income. Salaries, income from house property, profit and gains from business or profession, capital gains, income from other sources. Okay. And you see these are various sections which comes under these heads. And under salary, you are seeing three sections. Okay. First is section 15, then section 16, then section 17. So under salary chapter, we are going to learn these three sections. So only three sections are there, but we have to learn many related sections also, which are relevant in the context of salary. Okay, so not only these three sections, some other additional sections also we need to learn. Right, so what is the charging section? Is the 15. Section 15 will be talking about how salary income will be charged to tax. Deductions are covered under section 16 and some other provisions like various terms are explained under the section 17. If I show you the same thing in a different way, section 16 talks about, section 15 talks about salary. What are the chargeability? Meaning when salary is due, it will be chargeable to tax. When salary is paid or allowed, even though it is not due, that is also chargeable to tax. Arrears of salary is also chargeable to tax. These concepts are discussed in section 15. And section 16 talks about three deductions: standard deduction, entertainment allowance, and professional tax. So these three deductions we'll be talking about also. And section 17 talks about various terms like meaning of salary, perquisites, property in lieu of salary. All these things are discussed in section 17. Okay. So this is the, I think, broad idea you should have before starting. First, let me explain you a few concepts. Total 6 concepts we'll be learning. Then we'll be entering into the topic. Okay. Let us see what is the first concept. First concept, as you know, can you read it? What is the first concept? Can you read it out?
Employer-employee relationship.
Yes, this is most important for us in the context of salaries. That means in order to arrive at income under the head salaries, first we need to understand that employer-employee relationship is a must. Only when there is a payment flowing from employer to an employee, that payment will be regarded as salaries. Okay, payment flowing from an employer to an employee. An employer must be paying in the capacity of an employer. An employee must be receiving it in the capacity of an employee. Then it is a salary. Right? So in fact, every payment is a salary if it is flowing from employer to an employee. So what we'll test first? Employer-employee relationship. Employer-employee relationship has to be tested. And if that is satisfied, then we'll include that income as salary. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Let me give you an example to elaborate this thing. Let us say there is a professor who is working in a college. He is an employee of the college. So payment of salary made by the college to the professor is salary, because payment received by the employee, paid by the employee. But let us say the same professor is evaluating examination papers, and university is paying him money. University is not his employee, not his employer. So money received from the university is not to be taxed under the head salary. Okay, it may be taxed under the head income from other sources, or may be taxed under the head profit and gains of business of professor. Understood? Similarly, let us say there is a, let us say someone else is coming to the college to give a talk, to participate in the seminar, and college paying some honorarium. So that's not salary. That is what? That is an income under the head income from other sources. So when employer-employee relationship exists, then only the payment will be considered as salary. I think it is clear to you. Concept one is clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, second concept we need to understand that full-time employment or part-time employment has got no difference. It doesn't matter whether employee is a full-time employee or part-time employee. Both are employees, and consequently, if an employer is paying money to a part-time employer, that is also salary. Right? And if someone is receiving salary from multiple employers, that possibility is also there. Then all this salary income needs to be clubbed. Salaries received from all these employers will be clubbed, and the total amount will be charged to tax under the head salaries. Okay? Is it clear to you? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, third concept is about foregoing of salary. So if somebody waives his salary, if let us say voluntary waiver of the salary, somebody tells his employer, you see, I'm no more interested to receive my salary. You may do whatever you want to do. You may donate it to somebody. So what he's doing, he's foregoing his salary. Right? But if someone is foregoing salary, that will be considered as an application of income. Earlier in previous sessions, we have understood what is an application of income. Is it not? So that means he has applied his income for a particular purpose. So consequently, waiver of salary is also taxable. That waived salary is also taxable. If someone is foregoing his salary, that salary will be taxable in the heads of the person who is the employee, who is foregoing that salary. Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But however, there is a related provision, that is our concept number 4. But if someone surrenders his salary, here he is not foregoing his salary. Okay, he is not waiving his salary. He is surrendering the salary to central government. He is surrendering his salary to the central government, and that too under Section 2 of Voluntary Surrender of Salaries Exemption from Taxation Act 1961. Under the provisions of this act, if someone is surrendering his salary to the central government, then that salary will be exempt from tax. That will not be included under the head salary income. Okay. So mere for, let us say, waiving of salary is taxable, but surrender of salary is not taxable if surrender is made according to provisions of this act, and that too surrender is made, salary is surrendered to government, to central government. Right? Fourth concept is clear.
Yes, sir.
Let us come to concept number 5. This is about the tax-free salary. Practically, there is nothing called as tax-free salary. Salary is always taxable. When I say there's a tax-free salary, that means what is happening here? Here the employer is bearing the burden of tax on the salary. That means employer is saying, look, I will pay whatever tax is coming under the head salary, I will be paying it. So employer pays the salary, plus he is also bearing the tax. Otherwise, salary is not taxable. Otherwise, salary is not tax-free. Right? Did you understand? But in that case, what will happen? Let us say employer is paying a salary of 6 lakh per annum. Okay. Plus he is paying tax. Okay. Let us say he is paying tax of 20,000 rupees. Right. So 20,000 rupees, who is bearing this tax?
Employer.
Employer is bearing. But in this situation, what will happen? It will be assumed that this 20,000 is also received by the employee. That means employee's total salary will be considered as 6,20,000. And his tax liability will be computed on 6,20,000. So whatever amount, that means the obligation of the employee, which is borne by the employer, will be also considered as salary. Meaning, the net salary amount which is received needs to be grossed off for the tax which is paid by the employer. Did you understand this concept? Yes or no? Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And one more connected point here we need to understand. As per provisions of section 10(10)CC, income tax paid by the employer on non-monetary perquisites. So non-monetary perquisites means perquisites are all perquisites are generally non-monetary. Let us say a free house is given to the employee. It's a non-monetary perquisites. No monetary benefit is there, but free house is given. And if the employer is paying tax on this non-monetary perquisites, that part of tax will be exempt. That tax will be exempt from the income in the hands of employee. Right? Otherwise, if any tax is paid by the employer, that will be included in the employee's salary. So last para we may go through, we may read it, that as per section 10(10)C, the income tax paid by employer on non-monetary perquisites on behalf of employee would be exempt in the hands of employee. So this we have to keep in mind. Is it clear to you?
Sir, is it also exempt in the hands of the employer?
For employer, that is an expenses.
Okay, it will be shown as expense.
That's not an income. So when you're talking about income, or whether talking about inclusion or you are asking whether it is exempt. Exemption will be talking only about certain incomes. Only when it is some income, then the exemption question will come. Is it not?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, but for employer, you see that is an expenses, no?
Okay, so for employer, it is shown as an expenditure.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Is it clear? Let us move. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now, next, point number 6, or the 6th concept we are going to learn. This is about place of accrual of salary. This concept we need to understand. For this purpose, we need to refer to section 9(1)(2). Right. So as I told you from earlier, salary chapter consists of only 3 sections. But you have seen already we have covered some elements of section 10, some elements of section 9 also we are going to cover. So many related sections we need to learn. So as per the provisions of the section 912, salary earned in India is deemed to accrue or arise in India. If salary is earned in India, that will be always deemed to accrue or arise in India. Even if it is paid outside India. Even if it is received outside India, it will be, since it is earned in India, it will be deemed to accrue or arise in India. And also, even if it is paid and payable after the contract of employment of India comes to an end, meaning, let us say someone was working in India. After retirement, let us say he is located at London. He is receiving his pension in London. But here, that London pension will be deemed to accrue or arise in India. Okay, even if it is paid outside India. Because salary is earned in India. Even if the pension is received outside India, it will be deemed to accrue or arise in India. Is it clear to you? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if an employee is paid pension abroad in respect of services rendered in India, the same shall be deemed to accrue or arise accrue in India. Similarly, leave salary. Let us say someone is working in India and he has gone on leave. For 2 months, he is staying, let us say, Switzerland. And he will be receiving salary for these 2 months. So that salary will also shall be considered as if it is earned in India. Consequently, it is earned in India. So consequently, it is also accruing or arising in India. So tax is payable. Okay. Did you understand this thing? 2 more related concepts we have to read. We have to appreciate at this point of time. Now let us go to section 913. The salary payable by government to citizen of India for services outside India. So government employee who are citizen of India for services rendered outside India. Let us say there is let us say in New York, there is an Indian embassy. Okay, and there are Indian citizens which are employed there. And they are government employees. So salary payable by government to citizen of India for services rendered outside India. This salary will also shall be deemed to accrue or arise in India. Did you understand? Because it is paid by government to the citizens of India for services rendered outside India. But however, in this kind of situation, allowances and perquisites are exempt. Allowances and perquisites paid and allowed outside India by government to citizen of India for rendering services outside India, that will be exempted because of section 10(7). Okay, perquisites and allowances are exempted, but salary will be taxable. Right? Did you understand this concept?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so with this 6 concept what I told you before entering into the salary chapter, we need to appreciate that is over. And friends, already we have covered rates of taxes for the assessment year 21-22. These are various rates of taxes. You already know. For a normal citizen, up to 2,50,000 exempt. Then up to 5 lakh tax rate is 5%. Then for 5 lakh to 10 lakh, it is 20%. Above 10 lakh, it is 30%. However, for senior citizen, this basic exemption limit is 3 lakh. And for super senior citizen, basic exemption limit is 5 lakh. You already know. And there are also other provisions, rebate provisions are there, section 87A, because of which up to 5 lakh rupees income is exempt. Income is not chargeable to, if the total income is up to 5 lakh rupees, then tax is not payable. That concept we have already covered. And also, you know, for the assessment year 21-22, there is an alternate scheme also available. And these are the tax slabs under alternate scheme. Like 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%, 25%, 30%. 7 slabs are there. Okay. And these are the annual income we have already covered in our basic chapter. But if you go for this alternate scheme, then you have to sacrifice some deductions. And these are the deductions related to salary, which a person cannot get. Okay. These benefits one cannot avail if he goes for this alternative scheme. These things you have to keep in the mind. That means standard deduction cannot be computed. Leave travel allowances, that benefit one cannot get. HRA, certain allowances which are mentioned in section 10, 14, deduction of interest, etc. So there are so many allowances which a person cannot avail. Okay, so what a person can do, as you already know, can visit the Income Tax Department website and use the tax calculator and find out which scheme, old scheme is better or new scheme is better. We already know that thing. So that thing you have to keep in the mind. Here, the purpose of telling you all this thing at this point of time is that, you know, we'll be learning various deductions, various allowances. Okay, and you have to keep in the mind, if you're going for this alternate scheme, new scheme, then you may not be able to get those deductions. Right? With that background, let us start with section 15, which talks about basis of charges. Right? So here you have to remember that salary includes, it's an inclusive way it has been explained. Salary includes due from former employer or present employer in the previous year, whether paid or not. Meaning, salary will be charged to tax on due basis, even if it is not paid. Let us say salary becomes due on the last day of the month. Even if it is paid subsequently, it becomes due. On due basis, it is chargeable to tax. Did you understand this? Did you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Please repeat.
And also it says salary includes paid or allowed in the previous year by former employer, present employer, though not due. That means you have received the salary even if it is not due. It is also chargeable to tax. That is, it is chargeable to tax on payment basis. Okay, even if it is not due. Right? That means salary is chargeable to tax on due basis or payment basis, whichever is earlier. Advance salary is also taxable. It is not due, but it is on receipt. On receipt basis, it is taxable. Salary also includes arrears of the salary paid in the previous year by former employer, present employer, if not charged to tax. If someone is receiving arrears of the salary, if it was already not charged to tax, it will be chargeable to tax. So to summarize, salary includes salary due, salary paid, and salary arrears. Due may be from present employer or from former employer. Okay, former employee means, let us say pension is received. That is also chargeable under the head salary. Okay. Did you understand this concept?
What is arrears of salary?
What is?
The last point.
Arrears of the salary. Okay, arrears of the salary means for some reason you have not received a part of your salary or the entire salary you have not received. Salary in arrears. For example, let us say sometimes what happens, pay scale gets revised with retrospective effect. Right? Or new allowance, you got it from retrospective effect. That means earlier you have not received and now you are going to receive it.
So what is the difference between due and arrears?
What is the difference between due and
Arrears.
arrear? Arrear means, you see, something you have not received. Okay, let us say you have not received a particular allowance. Or let us say earlier you have received DA 20% and government revised it to 30%. So extra 10% you have not received. And now you're going to receive it. Maybe in subsequent years you receive it the extra 10%. So this 10% pertains to the previous period. Isn't that? So it was arrear. You had not received it, you are receiving it. When I said due, due means salary becomes due on a particular date. Salary accrues every day. The moment you are doing the job, you joined a job, so every day salary is accruing. So when it becomes due, it practically depends upon your terms of employment. There are some organizations, as per terms of employment, it says salary becomes due on the last day of the month. That means before that you cannot ask. It has not become due, but it is accruing. Okay, some organization it becomes due on the first day of the next month. That means February salary will become due on 1st March. Some organizations it becomes due on the 7th day of the next month. So like this, salary becomes due on a particular day, but it accrues every day. Okay, and when I say there is arrears means it was due, but it has not received. It is receiving right now. It is received now. So that is called arrears. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Here you have to remember the salary does not include salary which paid earlier as advance and included in the total income of any previous year. Here this means there will not be any double taxes. If salary is already charged on receipt basis, let us say you have received advance salary and salary is taxable on due basis or receipt basis, whichever is earlier, is it not? So in case you have received advance salary and you have included in the total income, then that same salary, same advance salary, when it becomes due, it will not be again included in the total income. Are you getting? All of you know what is total income. Total income is the income on which tax is payable. Okay, and if salary is received in advance, and at that point of time, it has already been included in the total income, that is not going to be again included in the total income in the previous year when it becomes due. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, next concept we need to understand that salary, bonus, commission, remuneration received by the partner of the firm from the firm is not salary, because employer-employee relationship is not there. When a partner receives salary, that is basically he is received from the firm and he is the owner of the firm. Okay, so since employer-employee relationship is not there between the firm and partner, that is not salary, that is his business income. So even if it is called as the partner salary, but it is a business income. Okay, so salary, bonus, commission, remuneration, all these things which are received by the partner of the firm from the firm is not salary. Similarly, commission received by agent from the principal. If principal is paying some commission to the agent, that is again not salary. That may be business income or income from other sources. Or next point is that any amount received not in the capacity of employee. Amount is received, but in some other capacity. Let us say employer is staying in employee's house on rent. Employee has got a house, employer has taken it on rent. So employer is paying rent to the employee. Question comes, is it a salary? Whether it will be included under that salary, because payment made by the employer to employee. Answer is no. Why it is not salary? Because it is not paid in the capacity of an employer. And it is also not received in the capacity of an employee. Employer is paying in the capacity of tenant, and employee is receiving in the capacity of landlord. So therefore, when payments are not made, not received in the capacity of employee, that is not salary. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, one more thing we need to understand. There is a difference between advance salary and advance against salary. Advance salary is taxable because of receipt basis salary is taxable. But advance against salary, this is a loan. Advance against salary is a loan. Consequently, that is not an income and it is not taxable. This concept also you need to keep in mind. Right? Now, we can conclude that salary is taxable on cash basis or receipt basis, whichever is earlier. That is due basis or receipt basis, whichever is earlier. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I had already explained you just before what is the difference between the due and accrued. Salary accrues as one renders the service. So every day, salary accruing. but it becomes due at the end of a specified period as per terms of contract, terms of employment contract. Okay. So let us quickly recapitulate. Employer-employee relationship is a must. You know that. Payment must be made in the capacity of an employer. Agent-principal relationship is not the employer-employee relationship. Commission paid by the principal, received by the agent is not salary. Here, one more concept we need to understand. What is the difference between contract of service and contract for service? When somebody joins a job, that's a contract of service and he receives salary. And employer-employee relationship comes into existence. Right? He has joined a job, it's a contract of service. Employer has got a right to supervise, to give direction, how work is to be done, and he will supervise. But what is contract for service? It is not salary. Let us say someone is giving a contract. Let us say someone has given a contract to a particular organization to provide security guard. Security guard will be coming, right? Will provide the security services. Okay, and at the month end, will give a bill, payment will be released. So this is an example of contract for service. For security services, assignment is given to a particular agency or to a particular person also. But that is not a salary. Okay, he's not your employee. He has taken a contract. That is called contract for services. The payer is not empowered to supervise and control the pay. The way he will be supervising, the way he will be doing his duty. Some other person is there. Maybe their supervisors are there, different. But employer-employee relationship is not there. The payer is not empowered to supervise. Payer is not empowered to give direction. That is called as contract for service. Here you have to remember, contract of service is salary. That means any amount paid under the head for contract of service, that is salary. But if it is a payment for services, it is not salary. It's not a salary payment. And in the recipient hands, that is also not a salary income. Did you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now we'll see. We'll enter into section 17. As you know, section 17, three subsections are important for three subsections are there. First subsection talks about salary. Second is about perquisite. Third one is about profit in lieu of salary. And here salary will be talking about the basic salary and various allowances. Perquisites will be learning at the second stage. Then we'll come to profit in lieu of salary sometime. Sometimes we'll be learning that thing also. First, let us learn what is the meaning of salary. Section 17.1 we have to go through. Inclusively, it has been explained. As you can, some of you please read it. It says salary includes. Can you read it for this point? Salary includes what?
Advance salary,
Advance salary. Next.
wages,
Wages,
fees,
fees,
commissions,
commission,
pensions,
right? Pension,
annuity,
annuity,
perquisite,
perquisite,
profits in lieu of or in addition to salary,
right? Profit in lieu of salary or in addition to salary,
gratuity,
gratuity,
annual bonus,
annual bonus,
income from provident fund,
right? Income from provident fund,
leave encashment,
leave encashment,
allowance,
allowances,
awards,
awards,
annual accretion to RPF to the extent taxable,
annual accretion to recognized provident fund to the extent it is taxable,
transfer balance to recognized provident fund,
right? Transfer balance to recognized provident fund,
contribution by central government or other employees to the account of employee under pension scheme referred to in section 80 CC.
So this is the contribution made by the central government or any other employer under pension scheme. So it's a scheme. If someone is participating in that scheme, he will be entitled for a pension. So if any contribution is made, by the central government or any other employer for his employee's pension scheme, then that will also considered as a part of salary. So you can say salary includes all these things. So in fact, it includes everything which is paid by the employer to an employee. One by one, we'll be covering all of these various items of the salary. Okay. And we need to understand salary may be paid in cash, maybe in kind also. It's also possible employer is paying salary in kind. Salary may be received from more than one source. There may be multiple employees. Okay. And all these salary amounts needs to be, as you know, needs to be clubbed, needs to be accumulated, and tax is payable on the total salary income. And when we talk about salary, we're talking about the real salary, not fictitious salary. Okay. Or not salary received from dummy employment. Practically, there is no employer-employee relationship, but only dummy employment is there. Then that is not salary. That income will be taxed under some other head, but not under that salary, because employment is not there. And you know, tax-free salary concept is not there. And the salary foregone is also taxable, but surrender of salary to central government under the provisions of that particular act is exempt. This concept we have already discussed. With that background, what we'll do, various components of the salary we have already seen. So all these components will be covering in appropriate time. But today we'll cover one important portion or important component of salary. This is point number 9, gratuity. We'll cover that thing fast. We'll see how gratuity is taxable. Okay, gratuity. So what is gratuity? Some of you might be knowing, some of you might not be knowing. So gratuity is a payment which is voluntarily made by the employer to the employee. Normally at the time of retirement, this gratuity is paid. Okay, sometimes maybe entire 1 year salary or some amount, little lump sum amount is paid to the employee in the form of gratuity. And there is a Payment of Gratuity Act 1972 that also applies. So most of the employees are eligible to receive gratuity. So it is a payment by the employer to employee. How that will be taxable, we are going to learn that. Okay, so just have a look at this chart. Gratuity is subject to certain exemptions. The exemptions are provided under section 1010. So keeping that thing in mind, you have to understand the provisions of gratuity. Okay, right. Okay, friends. Now you see, gratuity I have classified into 3 categories. First one you see, can you read it?
On continuation of service.
On continuation of service. That means job is continuing. Employee has not retired, is still in the job, and he is receiving gratuity on continuation of service. Okay, on job gratuity is received. What is the treatment? Can you read it?
Fully taxable.
Fully taxable. So we need not bother about this. When your job is there, you have not retired, then it is fully taxable. You need not worry about this. Then next is that what is the gratuity on
termination of service.
On termination of service. Your service is terminated. That means on the date of retirement, you are receiving gratuity. So what will be the treatment? We'll be learning that thing. But last part, please read it.
After death.
After death. Gratuity received after death. Okay. So employees, legal heir must have received the gratuity. Okay. What is the treatment after death? Can you read it?
Fully exempted.
Fully exempted. So first, friends, will remember 2 things. If gratuity is received on continuation of service, it is fully taxable. If it is received after death, it is fully exempt. Clear? No doubt about this. So after death is gratuity received, it's fully exempt. And on continuation of service, it is received, it is fully taxable. Okay. Now, only issue here, what we need to remember is that gratuity on termination of service. At the time of retirement, if gratuity is received, what is the treatment? Here, there are 2 possibilities. Employee might be a government employee or might be a non-government employee. If it is a government employee, this is again fully exempt. Is it clear? Government employee, fully exempt. Now, only difficulty is that how to treat the gratuity received by non-government employees. Here, friends, we have to check two things. We have to check whether the employee is covered under Gratuity Act or he is not covered under Payment of Gratuity. If he is covered under Gratuity Act, there are three limits. Okay, minimum of that limit is exempt. The remaining amount is taxable. I'll be telling you what are these three limits. If he is not covered under Gratuity Act, there are three different limits that we'll consider, and lowest of that limit will be exempt and the residual amount will be taxable. Is it clear to you? Did you understand the concept of gratuity?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let me repeat. If gratuity is received during continuation of service, fully taxable. If gratuity is received after death, it is fully exempt. Now, if gratuity is received at termination of service, for government employees, it is fully exempt. For non-government employees, you have to see whether he is covered under Gratuity Act or he is not covered under Gratuity Act. If he is covered under Gratuity Act, three limits are there. Minimum is exempt. If he is not covered under Gratuity Act, three limits are there. Minimum is exempt. That's what you have to remember. Okay. Right.
Yes, sir.
Right. So what I explained you in the help of chat, that has been mentioned here. So in the recorded video, you can pause the video and read it. Salary gratuity received during continuation service, whether by government or non-government employees, fully taxable. Received after death, whether government or non-government employees are fully tax-free. Received on termination of service, government employees fully exempt under section 10(10)(1). Non-government employees covered under Gratuity Act, they are exempt under section 10(10)(2). Three limits are there. Not covered under Gratuity Act, 10(10)(3). Three more limits are there. Okay, so the same thing I have explained you. Few points you need to also remember. Here, government includes, when I say government employees, central government employees, state government employees, local authority, and but not employees of statutory corporations. Defense employees are government employees, but employees of statutory corporations are not government employees. And gratuity received by director of an gratuity received by a director from an or an insurance agent shall be taxable as income from other sources, that is not salary. So director is receiving gratuity. Director is not considered as an employee unless he is an employee director. That is income from other sources. Gratuity received by an insurance agent is also taxable under that income from other sources. If a director is retiring and immediately reappointed, gratuity received shall be retained as if he has received it on continuation of service, hence fully taxable. Okay, director cannot claim that I have retired and received gratuity. But here concept is that he is retired but again reappointed. When it is retired and reappointed, it will be considered that service is continuing. These concepts we need to keep in mind. Is it clear? Okay. Yes or no?
Yes.
So now we'll see this part. First we'll see non-government employees who are covered under Gratuity Act. Exemption is provided under section 10(10)(2). So what is the exemption? You see, minimum of following. What is this three limits? Actual gratuity received. First we'll catch up what is actual gratuity received. Second is statutory amount of 20 lakh rupees. Third is the third point. Can you read it?
15 days salary for each completed year of service or a part thereof exceeding 6 months, computed on 26 days per month basis.
Okay. I'll explain you with the help of example, but please try to understand fast. First three limits are there. Minimum of these three limits are exempt. Is exempt. Minimum of three limits is exempt. Gratuity received. Actual gratuity, whatever is received, that is the first limit. We'll find out that figure. Second amount is a fixed amount, statutory fixed amount. That is 20 lakh rupees. 20 lakh rupees we have to take. Third limit, you see, we have to compute 15 days salary for each completed year of service or part thereof exceeding 6 months. Okay, that means for each year of service or a part thereof exceeding 6 months, you have to take 15 days salary. Okay, let us say someone has completed 25 years and 7 months. 25 years has completed, or a part thereof exceeding 6 months. 7 months is exceeding 6 months, is it not? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if someone has completed 25 years and 7 months, that will be considered as 26 years. Okay. And 15 days salary for each completed year of service. That means for each one completed year of service, 15 days salary. For 26 years of service, so 27 into 15 days salary. Okay. Now next question comes, how to compute 15 days salary? That will be completed on 26 day per month basis. That means your last run salary will find it out. Last run salary will be assumed that that is the salary for 26 days. Okay. Then per day salary, what will find out? Last run salary divided by 26 per day salary into 15 days salary into 15 into number of years of service. It's 26 years into 26. So like that, we'll be able to compute the third limit, 15 days salary for each completed year of service or part thereof exceeding 26 days.
Can you explain this once more, this 26 days?
Sure. Give me a moment. Have you remembered the three limits? What is the first limit? You tell me. Actual gratuity receipt. Second is statutory amount 20 lakh. Third one is 15 days salary for each completed year of service or part thereof exceeding 6 months. Computed on 26 day per month basis. Right? Okay. Now let me explain you. We'll again do some exercise. But right now, let me explain you. First, let us say someone has received a gratuity of 25 lakh. So what is the first limit?
Actual gratuity received.
Actual gratuity received. I told you gratuity received is how much? 25 lakh. So first limit is what? Okay, no doubt about this. Right. And what is the second limit? Tell me.
20 lakh.
What is the statutory limit? Tell me quickly.
Statutory 20 lakhs.
Statutory limit, how much?
20 lakhs.
20 lakhs.
20 lakhs.
Two limits are over. Now, what is the third limit? That is the difficulty in calculating. How to calculate? 15 days salary for each completed year of service or a part thereof exceeding 6 months. Let us say, example, someone has completed, let us say someone has completed 30 years and 7 months. How many years? 30 years and 7 months. I told you 15 days salary for each completed year of service or a part thereof exceeding 7 months. So this 7 exceeding 6 months. This 7 months is exceeding 6 months or not?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
30 years plus 7 months will be considered as 31 years. Okay. For each year, 15 days salary. That means 15 days salary first we will compute 15 days salary. For each completed year of service, 30 years plus 1 more year or a part thereof, I will make it 31 years. Okay, 15 days salary into 31 years. Why 31 years? Because it is 30 years and 7 months. Suppose it is 30 years and 4 months. What you will take?
30 years.
30 years. Because it is not exceeding 6 months. Okay, so here we are taking 15 days into 31. Okay, for each year, 15 days salary. Okay, now next challenge is how to compute this 15 days salary. This part is clear, 31 part. Clear or not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Clear? 31. Okay. So 30 years and 7 months. How much? 31 years. 30 years and 4 months. How many years?
Years.
30 years.
30 years.
30 years and 6 months.
31 years.
30 years and 6 months.
31 years.
30 years.
Okay, I got two answers. 30 years.
30,
and
sir.
30.
30
Huh?
years. Sir, because
Answer,
it's exceeding 6 months.
yeah,
So
answer is 30 because it has been clearly mentioned, or a part thereof exceeding 6 months. 6 months is not exceeding 6 months. So when I say 30 years and 6 months, that means it is 30 years. Okay. So if question will at all come, it will come in that 6 months. So you have to remember 6 months doesn't exceed 6 months. No need to remember, you have to apply your mind. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you see. Now you might be thinking then how to compute this 15 days salary. In this case, what we will do? 15 days salary, how it will be computed? Computed on 26 day per month basis. We'll find out what is his last done salary. Let us say his last done salary is 26,000. Or last done salary is, let us say, 2,60,000. We'll assume that 2,60,000 rupees is for how many days? 26 days. So what is his per day salary? How much? 10,000. Okay. Are you getting?
Yes, sir.
So per day salary is 10,000. And what is 15 days salary? 10,000 into 15.
1,50,000.
How much? I'll take now 1,50,000. Did you understand? 1,50,000, that is a 15 days salary for 31 years. What is the amount you find it? Okay, so 1,51,000, 1,50,000 into 31. If I multiply, I will be getting 46,50,000. How much? 46,50,000. Is it clear to you? How much is exempt?
20 lakh.
Minimum is exempt. How much is exempt? 20 lakh. This amount is exempt. Okay. This is exempt. If this is exempt, how much is taxable? Exempt is how much?
26,50,000 is taxable.
Exempt is 20 lakh. How much is taxable?
26,50,000.
26,50,000 you are saying. You see how much gratuity he has received?
Oh, 25,000.
25 lakh.
Sorry, sir. 25 lakh.
25 lakh. And how much is exempt?
5 lakh. Sorry, 20 lakh is exempted. 5 lakh is taxable.
So taxable. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. I think you have understood this. No doubt about this. So actual gratuity receipt, 20 lakh rupees. Then 15 days salary for each completed year of service or a part thereof exceeding 6 months, computed on 26 day per month basis. So 3 limits you can arrive at. Minimum of that is exempt. Remaining portion shall be taxable. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is what we are covering. we're learning now about non-government employees who are covered under gratuity. Right? And you have to remember here salary means what? Basic plus DA. And salary means last drawn salary. Therefore, I have given you example that we'll find out what is the last drawn salary. That is for 26 days. On that basis, we'll do. So these two concepts also you have to remember. DA is also included here. Right? Now, next we'll come to the what will happen to seasonal establishment. Here, instead of 15 days, we'll take 7 working days for each completed year of service. So third limit will be changed. Just keep it in the mind. In case of piece-rated employees who do not have fixed salary, their salary is decided on the basis of number of pieces they produce. How to arrive at the last drawn salary? Here, what will be done? Last 3 months' salary will be averaged out. On that basis, 15 days salary will be computed. This is few more things you have to remember. Now we'll cover to the next category of employees. This is again non-government employees not covered under Gratuity Act. Covered under Gratuity Act is over. Now not covered under Gratuity Act. Now how to do this? Let us see. You see, here also 3 limits are there as I told you earlier. What is exempt? Minimum of following. First limit you see, it is same. Is it not? Actual gratuity is same. It's same. Is it not? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Second limit, is there any change?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No. Third limit, is there any change?
Yes,
Previous
sir.
what you had seen, 15 days salary. Here instead of 15 days salary, what is written?
Half month.
Half month salary. There is a difference under law. There is a difference between half month salary and 15 days salary. When it is 15 month salary, 15 days salary, what we are doing? Last salary divided by 26 into 15. But when you say half month salary, what will be done here? Salary divided by 2, half month salary. And here it says for each completed year of service, full stop. Whether that wording is there or a part there of exceeding 6 months. It's there or not? It's not there. Is it not?
No, sir, it's not there.
It's not there. If it is not there, what we'll do, even if someone has completed, let us say 30 years and 11 months. So how many years will be taken?
31
years.
30 years. Okay, because 15 half month salary for each completed year of service. 11 month means year of service has not been completed. Okay, it is different from those previous case where we have seen employee who are covered under Gratuity Act. Here employees who are not covered under Gratuity Act. So here what we'll do, half month salary for each completed year of service full stop. In the previous example, where we have taken, let us say 30 years and 7 months, we have taken 31 years. But in this case, 30 years and 7 months means 30 years only. Even 30 years and 11 months means 30 years only. Okay, so half month salary for each completed year of service. But here you have to see that fraction of years is to be ignored. And here it is not last drawn salary. Previously, we had taken the last drawn salary. Here you have to take salary of last 10 months. The last 10 months average salary immediately preceding to his month of retirement has to be taken. Then salary here means basic salary plus DA. If it forms a part of retirement benefit plus commission. If it is fixed as a percentage of turnover, then only DA will be included, otherwise DA will not be included. So DA will be included only when it forms a part of retirement benefit. Forms a part of retirement benefit means for computation of other retirement benefits like pension, etc. DA is included. Then only DA will be included here. If it be commission paid, and if the commission is fixed as a percentage of turnover, then only it will be included, otherwise commission will not be included. So third limit calculation we have to see. Here it is not 15 days salary, it is half month salary for each completed year of service. Okay, and salary doesn't mean last month's salary. It means average salary of last 10 months. Did you understand this concept? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Example.
yeah. So yeah, I'll be showing you some example. Just give me a moment for that. Let us try an example. So please be ready with your pen and paper, calculator. So let me share with you some examples. Are you seeing an Excel file now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please take your pen and paper. Now, I request some of you, please read this question. Here is a question for you. Just a minute. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Please read this question.
Working for Reliance Communication Limited, which is covered under the Limit of Gratuity Act.
Okay, now here is as you say, here is a person working in a particular company. It is understood that he is a non-government employee, who is covered under Gratuity Act. And gratuity received on termination of service is 5 lakh rupees. He has completed 20 years and 6 months. Salary drawn, how much? 12,000 plus DA 50,000 plus HRA 10% plus CCA 5%. Compute the taxable amount of gratuity. Try to calculate. I'll be helping you.
Salary comes to 19,800.
Let us one by one, let us see it. So non-government employees, you know. So actual gratuity is 5 lakh. Right? Statutory amount is 20 lakh. Okay. Now, third limit, how will it come to? 15 days salary for each completed a year of service or a part thereof exceeding 6 months. How many years of completed service is? 20 years and 6 months. How many years we should take?
20
years.
20 years. Right, 20 years. So for 20 years, 15 days salary. And salary means basic plus DA. He is a government employee, you know. So here you see basic plus DA, we'll see. What is basic plus DA? You have to
1
calculate.
lakh.
How much? I'll show you. What is basic plus DA, you tell me. Salary structure is given to you. How much salary?
Sir, 1,80,000.
Okay. So 12,000 plus 50,000. How much? 12,000 plus 50%. 12,000 plus 50%. How much?
18,000.
18,000. 18,000 into 12 months. Sorry, 18,000. Is it not? Yes or no?
So 18,000 into 15 by 26 into 20. 20 years of service.
Into 15 by 26.
Into 20.
Into 20.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Then how much it comes? Can you calculate by using your calculator? Can you do it? Is it coming? Here you see, this is the amount of salary, 12,000 plus 50%, 1,80,000. So here you see, I'm calculating gratuity.
Yes, sir.
Equal to, this is for monthly salary, 18,000. Per day salary divided by 26. 15 days salary into 15 days. Then how many years into 20? The amount comes to 2,07,260. 692. Then how much is tax free? Minimum of these three things. So this is minimum. Minimum of this thing is tax free. So how much is taxable? Out of 5 lakh rupees, this is tax free. So 2,90,000 rupees is taxable. Did you understand this example?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it clear to you? Any doubt you have?
No, sir.
Yeah. No doubt? Right. Okay. Now, friends, let us do one more question. Here is a question for you. Can you receive? 3 situations I am giving. Assume first case gratuity received is 9 lakh, second case 2,50,000, third case is 12 lakh rupees. Last 12 months salary is this much. 20,000. So it is backward. 20,000. Prior to that, he has received 20,000. First 21,000, then 20,000, 20,000, 20,000. Before that, he was receiving 18,000 like this. Last 12 months salary was given you. Number of year of service is 30 years and 7 months. Salary includes DA 1,000 rupees per month, which does not form a part of retirement benefit. Compute taxable gratuity, assuming that employee is not covered under gratuity. It is a private sector employee who is not covered under gratuity act. Here what we will do, if he is not covered under gratuity act, then only basic salary will be taken. DA will be taken only when it forms a part of retirement benefit. And since this is gross salary, first we'll remove DA. Okay. DA has to be removed. Is it not? Yes or no? Are you getting or not getting?
Yes.
So let me remove DA. So if this is gross salary, this is DA. So net amount is, everywhere DA is 1,000 rupees. So net amount is this much. So this is the salary. We are interested in the last 10 months salary. So this is the last 10 months salary. Okay, last 10 months salary is here. We can average it out. We can find out what is the salary. Now let us answer this question. 3 limits I had given you. A, B, C. Actual gratuity receipt first, let us say first case is 9 lakh. Statutory limit is 20 lakh. Third case, half month salary for 30 years. So what will do? Average salary. First, let us calculate average salary of last 10 months. Average salary of this thing, if you see from this figure to this figure, if you calculate average, this is calculated by using this formula, Excel formula. Average salary comes to 18,300. Okay. So what we'll do? This amount. Okay. What we'll do? As you see, I'll calculate like this, equal to third limit. This amount divided by 2. It comes half month salary. Is it done? For each completed year of service into 30. Are you getting? So you see, this is the figure I am getting. 2,74,500. Exempt is minimum. Minimum is 2,74,500. And first case taxable amount is 6,25,000. This is the amount received. This is exempt. This is taxable. Second case, gratuity has received 2,50,000. Or everything is same. Exempt is 2,50,000. This is the minimum. It's not taxable. Third case, amount received is 12 lakh. Okay. Exempt is 2,74,500. Taxable amount is 9,25,500. Did you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sure, all of you got it. You can try at home. These are the 2 examples I had shown you. First case, second case. So I think concept is clear. Yes or no? Yes or no? Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
So let us summarize at these things. So we talked about gratuity. If it is received during the service, you know it is fully taxable. If it is received at the time of death, then you have to see at the time of retirement and death. In retirement, there are certain issues. Employees of central government, all these employees are exempt. And if it is received at the time of death, that is also exempt. In other case, we have to see whether he is covered under, employee is covered under Payment of Gratuity Act or not covered under Payment of Gratuity Act. If he is covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, you know, limits are actual gratuity received, 20 lakh rupees. Then 15 days salary based on last one salary for every completed year of service or a part thereof exceeding 6 months. On that basis, we will compute. If he's not covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, what will do? Same actual gratuity received. Then 20 lakh rupees statutory limit is one more limit. Then half month salary based on average of last 10 months salary for every completed year of service. This is how we are going to compute the exempted amount of gratuity, and we'll be able to compute what is the taxable amount of gratuity. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Gratuity part is over. Okay. So friends, just you go through this concept of gratuity. Next, we are going to start about the leave encashment. This is again a provision where employees are allowed to encash their leave. Accumulated leave and can be encashed, can be converted into cash. Employee may receive it. The taxability of that thing we will be discussing in our next class, not today. So today I will expect all of you once again, please go to the recorded video which will be available and revise the concept of gratuity. We'll stop here and we'll be catching up in your next class. Do you have any query regarding gratuity or the basics of salary? Please let me know very quickly. Any query you have?
No, sir.
No. So we'll stop here. We'll catch up in your next class. Thank you very, very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye. We'll catch up in some other time.